Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another look at a recently completed kit. Here is, of course, the 1982 100 scale Gelgoog kit that I've been working on. Real type Gelgoog kit, I should clarify. That's what particular kit this was, the real type Gelgoog, yes. And so I've made a kind of custom version of it here, obviously. Just a couple little modifications here and there. If you guys missed the work in progress series, go back and check that out. I did a couple of work in progress videos on this and did a couple modifications and a particular painting style, which I'll just quickly go through, summarize those again for you guys. But basically, as far as the modifications went, it was doing a couple of modifications to make sure that it could do like a better pose from what the kit can do just naturally. With it being a kit from 1982, you know, doesn't really have much in the way of articulation and details and anything. So I mean, just the pose that this kit could do naturally, not that much, pretty limited. And albeit what I've gone for here is still pretty simple. There's not really too much to it, just kind of a standing pose. I made a couple of modifications like in the ankles and in the stomach section for it to be able to do a little bit better looking stance. The modifications that I made to it, still, I think that the angle of the feet is still a little bit wrong. They should be a little bit pointed out more, which I just kind of can't really do just because of the height of the ankles. I needed to make the ankles a little bit kind of longer, the ankle joint a little bit longer, because the problem is that like the bell bottoms are touching the ground, so it can't like spread the feet any farther. Anyway, I should have worked a little bit more on that to make sure that the ankles could work in the way that the feet could point out a little bit more at an angle, but they still look, I think, kind of alright. Anyway, they look much better. The angle of the legs, the stance of the legs looks much better, of course, than it did just straight out the box. And then also made an extension, like an angled extension in the midsection for it to be a little bit sort of, a little bit bent forward, a little bit ab crunch there in the abs, just to give it a little bit better kind of power stance there. And also change the angle of the neck a little bit as well too, for it to be a little bit more kind of pointed down rather than just the head just like stuck flat on top of the torso. That's kind of the extent of it. Modifications to the hands, basically just replaced the hands with a set of resin hands that are 1/100 scale. They're much smaller than the hands that were included with this kit, but I think they look a lot better for this scale instead of the big massive kind of boulder hands that the kit had. A couple of small modifications to the beam rifle to make it sort of, I guess, a light type beam rifle, we can call it, a Gelgoog. A light type Gelgoog beam rifle, yeah, that works. And then a very simple, like kind of scratch built backpack there for this, using just kind of spare parts. And the idea was for, just to recap, the idea was for it to look very simple to match the rest of the kit, because it's a super simple, kind of very retro looking design. So I wanted the backpack to kind of reflect that by looking super simple. And so while it's a little bit too simple for what I would normally want to do if I was to create something like that for any other kit, for this kit, I think, you know, what it is, as simple as it is, I think works out pretty well, how the backpack looks. So that was kind of really about it as far as like any modifications. The shoulder armor, if you guys remember, the shoulder armor didn't have any way to attach onto like the shoulders like normal. Basically what the manual tells you to do is just to glue the shoulder armor straight onto the side of the torso, which at first I was against. I wanted to make an actual connection piece for that, but I decided no, I think it could probably look okay. And now that the kit is all completed, hopefully you guys can see at least what I was envisioning for that, in that I think it was totally a fine idea to just make the shoulder armor just stuck onto the side of the torso rather than like making some attachment piece for that. Wouldn't have been that difficult to do, but I think the shoulders look perfectly good, exactly how they are, like that, just stuck right onto the torso. No one would ever know, basically, because the idea is you don't really want to have much of a gap there anyway, so it all worked out. And the beam naginata, which is typically supposed to attach onto the back of this kit where the backpack is, then I just had to just drill a hole to make an attachment point for that to plug onto the back skirt instead. Easy enough. And that was kind of about the extent of the modifications to it, really. There's not really too much else to it except for just a lot of seam line removal, just tons of seam line removal, as there seams basically on everything on this kit. So that took a little while, but really honestly wasn't all that bad. Then the other kind of main thing about this was, of course, just the painting style. I was trying to emulate Max Watanabe's painting style, his kind of signature style. I think this it's an alright attempt. It didn't really come out exactly as good as Max's, of course, and not exactly as good as I would have hoped, but, you know, for a first attempt, for something that, you know, Max has perfected and has been doing for, I don't know, 30 years, 40 years, I don't know, so a long time. Max has been doing that, so I think that it's not too bad. Definitely with some practice, I'm sure it'll improve in later builds. It's not something that I'm going to do on every build from here on out, but I'll certainly be trying it more in the future, just trying to see if I can get better and better at that. But I mean, I think it came out, it looks quite nice, and I mean, I hope it's looking good in the video, because I was looking at some photos or sharing some photos already with some friends, and just noticing that it looks so much nicer in person, like, to be honest, than it did in photographs. So hopefully it looks pretty good on video. I think it probably will, but in person I think it looks a lot nicer, honestly. There's some texture in there. I think, like, after doing the rainbow layer of colors on that, again, if you guys saw the work in progress video, you saw that part of that. I did do some light sanding on that, but I think I should have done a little bit more sanding on top of the paint I'm talking about, just to get rid of some of that texture. Especially there's some like little bubble textures there in the paint that you can still see through the colors now. And I want to say unfortunately, but, you know, it's not that bad. Kind of the whole idea of this, one of the reasons for painting it in this particular way is to give it a little bit of texture, and so that's what you want. But I think I have just like a little bit too much texture in some areas, so it doesn't really look that good. But I think overall, I mean, just like the colors look nice. I think like doing that rainbow layer, as I'm calling it, underneath the main color does give you this really nice kind of shadowy effect there to the colors. You can see it mostly in the red there, especially. It's not quite as noticeable at first glance in like the grays and the tan colors, but in the red you can especially see that, and it looks quite nice in there. So I'm really happy with how that came out. Again, not exactly totally right to, I think, what I was going for, but I mean, it came out looking nice. And getting the top coat on there really helped a lot too. That kind of toned down the red. The red was much brighter, and the top coat that I used toned that down quite a lot, gave it a really nice satiny finish over it. And obviously when the kit's glossy, you can see all of the imperfections of like the surface texture, and so giving that a matte coat is going to tone all that down a bunch too. So the top coat really kind of helped this to look as nice as it does. A lot of that's thanks to the top coat. I was originally planning on doing some more weathering on it, but after I started spraying some top coat on it, I was thinking, you know, I don't really want to do any more weathering on this than just the panel lining that I did. For the panel lining, I left it kind of intentionally a little bit kind of messier than I normally would for like a clean build or something. I maybe would have cleaned up the panel lining in some areas a little bit more. I kind of left it a little bit messy, I guess. Yeah, it's just kind of the best word for it. A little bit not super clean, not super consistent. Anyway, I was planning on just doing like a little bit of chipping and doing like just a filter over everything, but yeah, we're just thinking that it looks really nice. It is, so I just wanted to leave it like that. Sort of clean, I guess it's clean in the fact that it doesn't really have any weathering on it, but it still doesn't necessarily have that super clean look, I think, just because of that kind of shadowy look of the paint. Anyway, so it looks cool. Anyway, in that sense, sort of that gives it a sort of weathered look, just with the paint, the way the paint is applied on there. And plus, when I was putting the decals on at first, they were looking very bright, and I was thinking I wanted to kind of tone them down a little bit with throwing a filter wash over the whole kit, but then I kind of liked it, actually. I was kind of liking the decals as they were, again, like, especially once the top coat is on there, and it kind of dulled the red a little bit, made that not quite so bright, and then just having the decals nice and bright does look really good. Again, the decals are just the decals that were included with the kit, so I mean, it's awesome that the kit includes a bunch of waterside decals. A couple of the lining bits got a little bit messed up, like the one on the knee. I don't know how and when that happened, because I was putting the decal on, it was fine, then the one, like the very bottom part of the decal on the knee, somewhere along the lines disappeared. I don't know where that went. And then like the really long strips of line decal that have to fit around the bottom of the leg, really tricky to get those on, and especially to get them lined up. So there are a couple little bits where it's not quite exactly lined up, but you're probably not going to be able to tell, hopefully. And so everything else, all the decals went on fine, just some of the larger ones were tricky. Like the one around like the cutout in the shield also is quite tricky. There's a break in that's supposed to be like that though. That's how the decal was. That it's not the full shape going all the way around that kind of eye hole there on the shield, so that's not broken, it's just meant to look like that. So I think, yeah, the decal scheme came out very cool. I just stuck with what was in how they're supposed to be put on. A couple of them I changed slightly just because of, like, for example, where you're supposed to have a red decal on a part that I painted red, then a red decal on the red part obviously not going to be visible, so a couple of them I had to move to like a different place. But for the most part, the decals, basically the decal scheme is how it's meant to be, just according to the manual. So that's really about it, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Again, check out the work in progress videos. If you missed those, go back and check those out, where you can see more in detail what I'm talking about. But it was a fun project, and I'm pretty happy with how it came out. Actually, I was feeling kind of unsure about it, but you know, now that I'm able to see the finished product, and especially, man, that top coat just really sealed the deal. It really made it look so much better. And again, hopefully you guys are seeing it you know, well in camera. I think it's looking pretty good here on the video camera, and it looks quite nice in real life. It's just like, for some reason, taking photos of it with my phone was just not doing it justice. But alright, yeah, that's it. So another good learning experience, trying something new. I'm definitely looking forward to trying the technique again in the future. So I'm sure you guys will see me do this later on again. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. And as always, guys, huge thank you to USA Gundam Store for making it all possible. Check out the link and the coupon code in the video description down below. I know these old 80s kits, we don't have a ton at the moment. Hopefully Bandai will be doing some reprints of them very soon in the future, so that we can get some more in there at USA Gundam Store for you guys to pick up. And then hopefully maybe someday in the future we can do a contest, old 80s kits contest. I think would be pretty fun to do. So what do you guys think about that idea? I think we should try it anyway. So that'll be for some time in the future. Anyway, for now, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for liking the video, commenting, subscribing. All that's greatly appreciated. I'll see y'all next time. Have a great weekend. Bye, guys.